But now it's time for our feature interview for the evening. And this evening we are bringing a gentleman who is no stranger to television or the genre. Everyone, welcome Troy Fromin. Troy, how you doing?
Wow, that's weird how you knew I was here.
I have a screening device for Blog Talk, so I know when you're here.
Oh, do I sound clear?
You sound perfectly fine, man.
Well,
I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah, cool. Hey, first I'd like to just wish everybody out there, including all the stoners and stoners like myself, a happy 420 today. Hey, everybody.
I know, right? I mean, you know, it's a day after, but it should well, the way it's going in America, eventually it will be a true national holiday anyway. So
the day after, I must have been smoking too much because I thought it was still 420. Oh man.
Nothing wrong with that at all, my friend. Nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I'm just having with you. I know it's 421.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. We can start with your early career, but I mean, I guess first of all, talk about how you got involved with film and television and what it is about working in those mediums that you enjoy so much.
Well, okay. This is like my fifth or sixth interview, and I'm going to sound like a broken record to my wife who's sitting here, but you have to hear it again anyway. Because how it started, ever since I was a kid, I just loved science fiction, fantasy, and horror movies. I couldn't watch enough of the stuff. You know, my grandparents' black and white TV and home, trying to sneak in the movie theaters, everything I could get my hands on. And one day I decided, excuse me, I want to be in a horror movie. I want to die in a horror movie. That's my ultimate goal in life. And so after I graduated high school, I started reading this magazine called the Drama Log. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
So in the back of the Drama Log are these listings that are casting like student films and extra work and this and that. So I got pictures made and I started doing extra work, and I used the extra work titles like I was featured in these films, and just to get my foot in the door. And I slowly just started, getting into the student films and eventually speaking parts. That's how I got Monster High. It was a UCLA project started out by a guy named Randy Poe, and I played the party zombie with the full prosthetics on. And he said, when I make the full-length feature, you're in it, So then he never called me. Then I look in Drama Log, and there it is. He's casting Monster High. So I call him. He goes, "Oh, Troy, I'm sorry. There's no party zombie in this movie. I really don't have a part for you." And I look in there. There's nerds. So I call him back. I could play a nerd, Randy. And he's all, well, come on in and try out. So I dressed up like a complete nerd, and I blew him away. And I got the lead nerd that turns into gets his head cut off and the computer monitor put on, and I'm in the whole movie. And so that's one of my first things that I started out doing.
Well, a lot of genre fans would be interested to know, for those of us that scroll through and read the credits and pay attention, now this is on IMDb, so again, if something is incorrect, please let me know. We know how unreliable IMDb is. But you got your start on Return of the Living Dead 2 as the pot-smoking army driver.
Oh, okay.
Now,
let me tell you about, go ahead.
I was going to say, kind of tell us about how you got involved with that, because that's certainly a film that many many that are fans of the genre would certainly consider that to be a cult classic.
All right, this is a great story. I saw in the newspaper, they actually said we need zombies and soldiers, extras, for Return of the Living Dead Part 2. So I instantly got a boner. And I went first I went to the market. I got some cow's brains. And I brought it to the Valencia. They had a line of people. And when I got up to the table, I said, would you like me to eat these brains in front of you? They go, no, you're in. So I signed up and I started doing the zombie extra work a couple nights. I got my friends involved. And then soldier work the next night. So I worked like maybe 5, 6, 7 nights as either zombies where they put masks on you, and one night they put a featured, they did like a 1-hour detail makeup on me. So then that was all fun, and then a month later, Paula Fox calls me because she liked the way I helped get all my friends involved and help her cast zombies and stuff. And she said, we have this part as a pot-smoking truck driver. Would you like to do it? Oh, hells yeah. So I showed up that one day, and I was in the it was inside. The Jeep was inside, and it did the rain and all that. And the director, Ken Wiederhorn, he gave me his lighter, and he rolled this fake joint for me, and that was history. I did it, and they paid me my extra work. They gave me $40 for that. But it's not the money. It's just the status and the recognition, and just knowing that I did that, and I saw myself on the big screen, and I was so pleased, and it was a great time.
Now, looking back on that, I mean, certainly when you go to work on any project, you never know what a project could turn into, what it could be, what its cultural and historical landmarks are. But looking back on that film now, thinking back on it, how much do you look back at that and go, damn, I'm part of, in particular these days, zombie films are so big. You're part of zombie canon now. What, looking back on that, what are your thoughts on that, especially the whole zombie craze today?
Well, my thoughts is it's one of the best things I've ever did acting-wise, even though it's not speaking. Everybody, when I tell people that it was me, they go, "That was you? Oh my God!" The thing was, I never got credit because that was shot after all the credits rolled, and I guess they did test screenings to the audience, and so that was later filled in. And I had like 3 months of a hard time trying to convince IMDb that was me. So I went on this rampage, and I had a lot of people contact them. It was a campaign, and they finally just fell in and gave it to me.
Sometimes that's how you have to do it. I'm glad that you went out there and got your credit, though. I mean, I do think it's important. Sometimes producers forget that, people who come in and do, uncredited extra work, they help get the movie made, and you certainly deserve to have your name up there with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah,
now, the second film that you worked on was a little bit of a horror sci-fi war film. That was Night Wars. I've not had a chance to see Night Wars and haven't been able to find too much about it. What can you tell us about that particular film? And I know you played the role of an American soldier in it.
Yeah, I had Dan Haggerty and these two other guys, and it was directed by David Pryor for AIP Films, and you know their background. They just pumped out low-budget stuff one after the other. And I was actually just an extra in it. I never had any speaking, but IMDb put me in there, and I kept it in there. I'm just shown as like a flashback of the American platoon that these guys were in, and then later they're experiencing these visions and nightmares and stuff, and they actually have to go back in time and whatever. I don't remember the details, but it was an okay movie, and you just see me as one of the soldiers in the platoon.
Okay. Now, another film, of course, that has tremendous, significant sentimental attachment to it is Phantasm 2, and you were a background player in that. Now, in the same year, you managed to be in Return of the Living Dead 2, and now Phantasm 2. Talk about how Talk about how you got a part in that, and what was it? Did you get to meet Angus Scrimm? I mean, what was it like on set?
All right, here's my Phantasm 2 experience. Phantasm, to me, is my favorite horror film in the entire world. Rock bottom. It's my favorite movie. So I was looking in Variety one day, and they announced Phantasm 2. Now, this is 10 years later from Phantasm. So it's Phantasm 79, so this is 1989 about. So I there's no smartphones or anything like that, So I got my pen and paper out, and I wrote a letter to Don Coscarelli, and this and that, my favorite thing, I'll work for you for free. Please. I lived at my parents' house rent-free, so I didn't even care about money back then. So I got a call, and they said they want me for craft service. And I said, well, what's that? Making coffee and snacks and this and that. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. So I went in there, and I met Don Coscarelli. I brought my Phantasm poster, had him sign it, and then
nice.
I worked on it for 2 months. And then one night, I met Angus Scrimm. I worked with Reggie, and I worked with the fake Michael. I didn't get to meet Michael Baldwin, which is a big bummer. and I'll always be pissed off to this day that they didn't use him in Phantasm 2, as well as hardcore Phantasm fans. And so I got to work with those guys for 2 months, and then one night Don says to me, "Okay, Troy, this is your big break now," and they put me in the gear, the grave digger's mask and all. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
So when Michael, the fake Michael, to me and Reggie pull up and they go, "Those are the gravers, the ones that just scume the bodies and bring them back to the tall man." I'm pickaxing this grave open in the background. So that's my Phantasm experience. And I have.
It's absolutely stunning. At the very beginning of your career, you're in 2 films that, like I said, are just iconic films, iconic series in the genre.
Right.
Before we even go further with any of your other films, let's talk about that aspect for a moment. And of course, at the time, like we said, you don't know what films are going to be huge, which ones aren't. But looking back on it now, even if they were bit parts, you got to be in, like I said, 2 iconic movies. It's, could your career have gotten off to a better start? And when you started,
right.
Did you ever think that you would have 2 titles like that on your resume?
No, I never thought it would. Things just started happening. I couldn't believe the things that were happening as I got them. Married with children, and I'll just do one at a time. I'll let you bring it up. I could bring up the stories to each one and every one.
Right. Well, we're definitely going to talk about your TV career here for a second. You did a couple of other films. You mentioned Monster High. You also did Dead End City, Hell on the Battleground, and then you did your first TV series, Dr. Doctor.
Right.
Talk about how you got involved with television at that point.
Okay, well, I worked on a movie, a horror film that I was a featured punk in called Speak of the Devil, which probably nobody's seen, but it's a comedy horror film, and I ended up impaling myself on a Satan mask and burning it. And the guy I worked with introduced me to his manager, and she sent me out. She met me and she sent me out on auditions, and I auditioned for Dr. Doctor as a growling hockey player, and I got it. And they tapped Hartley'd me right away. I got my SAG card from Dr. Doctor. I worked with Matt Frewer, and on one scene with Matt Frewer, I don't know if you've seen all these things we're talking about. By the way, everyone is on my YouTube channel. You can see all these scenes on Troy Fromin. Just hit videos, and you can see everything we're talking about. So
nice.
One scene, I actually decked him for real by accident, and it ended up in another show called CBS Bloopers or something.
It's just funny how things like that turn out. Now,
right.
Of course, like I said, you had mentioned Monster High, but you did some more TV. I said you had mentioned Monster High earlier, but
right. Have you
keeping in the
seen
vein,
that movie though?
Have I seen Monster High? No, I have not.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's the thing is it's hard, especially when you have someone who has as many credits as you do, to track down everything for an interview. But it's definitely a movie that I will look for. But in the same vein of go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I actually found Monster High at the market for like $5.99 on a Halloween rack one day. I have it here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely track down a copy and do a review on Horror Society for it.
It's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen.
But you had fun doing it, right? That's part of the experience too.
I had a great time doing it, but there's one thing about it: all my dialogue got cut out because they turned it into a music montage. But I'm still in the whole movie. What the hell,
These things happen to us. I've had a lot of my work cut out too. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
Well, I'll get to that. I got a better one when the time approaches. Keep going.
Okay. To continue on in your vein of television, and I never realized for the longest time how many TV shows you were in that I watched growing up. Just the 10 of us. You did Whole High, True Colors. You did an episode of Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Life Goes On. Hell, you were
Yeah.
even on the FBI, The Untold Stories, and then, of course, you were in The Wonder Years, Who's the Boss, and Saved by the Bell. You know, kind of compare for a moment working on television like you did and compare that to working in film. Did you find one to be more of a challenge than another?
Well, some TV shows they're done live, and you mess up your line, and then you got to go back and reset. And,
right.
But that's the sitcom ones. But some of the TV shows are shot like a film. So if you mess up, it's no big deal. The audience isn't there, going, oh God, he messed up, and we're gonna watch it again. So it's just so some TV shows are shot like film, and some are like sitcoms. But I like it all. I just love doing everything.
Now,
right?
looking at the television work that you've done, in particular, you look at The Wonder Years. I mean, again, it's a series that a lot of people look back on, very fond of. What were your thoughts on working on that TV series, and again, looking back at, oh my God, look at how big the series was, baby boomer generation loves that series. Did that, working on series like that, do you feel like that opened more doors for you, gave you more opportunities?
Oh, you're talking about The Wonder Years?
Yes.
Yeah, because it kind of faded out there. Yeah, The Wonder Years was great. I was so glad to be involved with that. They actually wanted me to be in another episode, but my manager booked me on Saved by the Bell at the same time. So at this 1 week, both of those people wanted me. So Wonder Years lost out because I signed up the Saved by the Bell first, and I guess they held a grudge and didn't call me back, But still, it was a great time, and working with Savage was great, and sitting in that car, in the driver's education episode, we were sitting in that car and with police escorts going through the city. I felt like such a big shot actor at that time, and Savage is making jokes one after the other, and the director had to calm him down and say, concentrate, Savage,
Right. So I mean, he was cool. He was a cool guy to work with. I mean, you enjoyed that.
Yeah,
you enjoyed the whole experience of the show.
I did. I really did.
Now you mentioned Saved by the Bell, and again, here's another series. Very iconic. You were on the show several times as Ox. Kind of talk about how you got involved with Saved by the Bell and how your character became a reoccurring character on the show.
Excellent. So I got a call to be Saved by the Bell as this punkish type of character named Scud. So I got that, and it's the No Hope with Dope episode, which is a very famous and popular episode. And have you seen that one where I was Scud in the bathroom with the joint and all that?
I don't think I've seen that particular episode, no.
All right. So then my manager calls me the next week. They go, Troy, they love you, but they don't want you portraying that kind of character anymore. They want you to come in for formality, do a couple lines as this new character, Ox. So I go in there. I just had to do a couple lines as a stupid Ox, and they said, yeah, you're it. So I did the first one, student-teacher week, and then they liked it. So then every week after that, they say, Troy, you're doing next week's episode. So I did one as Scud and 8 as Ox. And at the time, I didn't know how big Saved by the Bell was going to be. To me, it was just a kid's show. At the time, it's like, well, whatever, And then it just, when I joined Facebook, all these people from the woodwork, from all over the world, hey, Ox, why aren't you acting anymore? So they pumped me up because, I took a 13-year break. I just faded out of the business because, I had bills to pay and other things involved. So they pumped me up to get back to the acting and my family and friends, and I just went for it.
Now, looking back, at all of that, and, especially where you've seen the other actors from the show go, what is it you think about the series that you've worked on? And and again, Saved by the Bell, The Wonder Years. What is it you feel like in those series that made people latch onto them to keep talking about them to this day?
Well, I don't hear much about Wonder Years from anybody. It's always Saved by the Bell. So I owe my career notoriety to Saved by the Bell as Ox, basically, and I did that when I was 22, 23. I'm almost 40. I'm 48 now, and I'm still getting little residual checks in the mail. And and I ran into Elizabeth Berkley at the Hollywood Bowl last year. We were going to see Bruno Mars, and my wife saw, look, Elizabeth Berkley. I went, huh? So I ran down there and said, hey, Elizabeth, you remember me? And she looked at me like, huh? So I was only in 2 episodes with her before she left the show. I said, I was Ox. Remember me? And she said, oh, it's coming back to me. Can I take a picture with you? So she took a picture with me, and that was great,
Now, along those lines, since you say, people always ask you about that, have you done any of the convention circuit? When people meet you, what is your most requested autographed item? Is it Saved by the Bell? Is it a particular film?
That's the thing. Nobody recognizes me. They recognized me a few years back, but right now nobody recognizes me when I'm walking down the street. It's weird. I look different now. I'm heavier. I'm older. But one time I was in a store, and the one girl said she actually quoted a line that I did from Saved by the Bell. I'm all, huh? She goes, don't you remember the line you said, Ox? Well, oh, hey, well, that's cool that you remember that, And I was at Magic Mountain one day, and someone said, hey, you're from Saved by the Bell, and that was back then, but nobody recognizes me now. Weird.
Now, you went on to do a couple of movies with Troma. The first one being Ain't No Way Back.
I think Troma picked that up. Again, I was just an extra in that as a hillbilly. So that's like a Night Wars type of situation where IMDb just put it on there, and so I went with it. So I think Troma picked that up. But my actual first Troma movie was Fortress of America. Have you heard of that one? Are you there? Oh. Hello? It's still ringing.
Troy? We just had some technical difficulties. I think we just lost Troy. We lost me for a second. We've had some crazy weather here in North Carolina. So let me see if I can get Troy back. You got to hit it. Oh, here we go. We got him back.
Hey, what, can you hear me?
I don't know what happened there. We've had some crazy weather here in North Carolina, so the phone line apparently went down for a second. I apologize for that.
Oh, no problem.
But we were talking about you working with Troma Films, and the first one you worked with them was Ain't No Way Back. So, like I was asking is, what can you tell us about your experience on working with that film, and what did you think about working with Troma Studios?
Well, what's the last thing you heard me say?
My phone just started doing the thing after I asked the question.
Oh, okay. Well, Ain't No Way Back was picked up by Troma later. It wasn't a Troma film at the time, so I was just an extra in there, kind of like Night Wars. And IMDb put me in there. What the hell? Any credit is good credit. So my actual first Troma film is called Fortress of America. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of it, yes.
Okay, so again, thanks to Dramalog, I answered an ad, and I met with Eric Lucille, and I became, he hired me as one of the mercenaries, he didn't even pay me, but so we went into this motorhome, and me and these other guys, and we went to the Washington rainforest is what he called it. We traveled for hours. and we actually pitched up army tents and everything, and we actually used a 35 millimeter, I think it's camera, this old ass camera that took 2 people to carry. Something they probably shot Frankenstein on or something. I don't know. So that was my first. So and then we did pickup shots in his backyard, and he lived in Valencia, and I lived in Northridge at the time. So he was a half an hour away from me. So he started giving me lines and stuff. So I became like a featured player in Fortress of America, and then his next movie was Class of Nukem High Part 2, and I was supposed to have a bigger part as Yoki's sidekick, but then this other movie came up, and they gave me a co-starring part as a vampire, so I had to like bow out of that, and so I would have been in a lot more of a Class of Nukem High Part 2, and then this other movie, the vampire movie called Night Wars. It's shot in 16 millimeter, and I was a vampire. And if you look at my profile picture on my Facebook with my face covered in the blood, that's from that movie. And on my YouTube channel, there are bits and pieces of a trailer he made that you can see part of that movie, but it was never finished. So I lost out on that, and I also lost out because I was supposed to be in Steve Wang's Guyver movie, the superhero movie, and which was a SAG-paying movie. And my biggest regret, I had to turn Steve down because I thought it was a big shot, this co-starring vampire movie, and never got finished. So, where was I? Maybe I am at 420 again. Go ahead. Leave me the way.
Well, another one that I wanted to ask you about, and I really could not find anything on this film other than it being listed on your IMDb, and that is The Being from Earth. Do you remember anything about that? How you got involved with that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I met them, and I played the assistant, and you can see I got a couple scenes on my YouTube channel. And it's hard to explain. It's like the being from Earth is actually the being from Earth that was created by our pollutants and whatever, and they're trying to impregnate, I don't know, there's a special syringe that they're taking of the lady's ovaries and trying to implant it into the being. So I'm this old couple's assistant. It's just the weirdest ass movie I've ever been involved in. And if you got to watch the YouTube scenes to actually see what I'm talking about. And
right.
There's very little mentioned on IMDb, but they actually paid me, and I threw my back out. I had to pick up this girl multiple times. I threw my back out, and they paid my chiropractor bill.
Well, that was nice at least.
Yeah. I mean,
not so much throwing the back out, but at least they covered it. I mean, that's a good thing.
I'm a 19, 20-year-old healthy guy walking around like a hunchback for a week.
Oh. Sorry, yeah. I feel you. My first movie set, in the first 24 hours, I wound up getting 2 concussions and a broken middle finger. So I know how those things go. Yeah. Now, you had mentioned earlier. You had mentioned, I believe it was Speak of the Devil, and you play Byrne in that one. And that one, I just love the storyline synopsis on this. A phony evangelist and his nympho wife buy a house in Los Angeles with plans to turn it into the Church of Latter-day Sin. Tell us some more about this film, because this is one, I don't care where I have to find this one. I'm going to sit down and enjoy the hell out of this.
I actually have a copy I can mail to you. Okay?
I would love to see this. There was just something about reading that description. I'm like, yeah, I need to see this movie.
When we're done, PM me your address, and I have an extra copy on a DVD, and I'll mail it out to you tomorrow.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
This movie needs more recognition than it got. It's actually a pretty good comedy horror film.
Is there anything can you tell us anything about it? I mean, I'm certainly a fan of the horror comedy, especially if it's well done comedy.
Yeah, well, I went in, I auditioned, I didn't hear anything, and then so I called them up. I said, "So what's up?" They go, "Oh yeah, we cast you. You're going to be Byrne." Oh well, thanks for letting me know. Hey. So they paid that one. They actually paid me $300 a day. So that was my first non-union big money for me, and it was a great movie. I like that movie. And actually, the oh god, I can't think of his name at the moment. There's a special effects artist, Jeff Farley, who's a big time effects artist. That's one of the movies got him started. It's also known in other territories as The Ungodly.
Huh. I will definitely look into that some more.
Yeah.
Now, one that I enjoyed immensely, and I actually have a copy of it on my DVD shelf, was you were in Shrunken Heads.
Hey, that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Charles Band film. I mean, just a fun film all the way around. I'm sure this is one of those ones that you have stories about. What would you like to share with us about Shrunken Heads?
My manager called me one day and said, you have an audition for a movie called The Call of Mr. Sumatra. That was the original title. Mr. Sumatra is the priest that brings the kids back, cuts their heads off of the dead bodies that we killed them. And so we actually shot that, I believe, at Paramount. And I worked with Bodie Elfman, and at the time he was engaged to Jenna Elfman, from Dharma and Greg. And I met her before she got famous on the set. And that one I actually had a weekly SAG contract. I worked for a month on it, and that's one of my favorite movies that I was in. And it's so underrated, and people it needs to be seen,
Oh, I agree. I mean, what drew me originally to the film, I'm a big zombie movie fan, but I also have this thing, voodoo just absolutely fascinates me. And when I saw Charles Band was doing this, I was like, okay, I definitely have to see this.
Right.
What was it like? I mean, of course you worked with Charles. What was it like working with him? What was it like being on a Full Moon Entertainment set?
I don't think Charles ever came to the set. I never met Charles, man. And if I did,
really,
I would have known, because it was directed by Richard Elfman, who directed the Forbidden World cult movie from the 70s or 80s or something. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that one off the top of my head. I will look it up really quick.
Forbidden World. It actually has a dude that dude tattoo in it from Fantasy Island.
Really?
I don't know much about that, but he directed that, and then he directed this thing, and it was such a great movie to work on. And I'm actually, after I'm killed off by the Shrunken Head, I'm a zombie in the rest of the movie. I'm sure. Well, you know that. You've seen it.
Yes.
And another bit of trivia. I didn't get a residual check for 20 years or whatever, and it was for like $1.37 when they put it on DVD for sale. And when I called SAG about that, they said, "Oh, they claimed they didn't make any money off that movie, so no one's getting paid." So I made a residual check of $1.37, which I featured on Facebook.
I've heard stories about Charlie and doing stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. That's why I was curious about what your thoughts were had you actually met him or worked with him. You're talking about, by the way, the movie that I think you're talking about by Richard Elfman, you're talking about The Forbidden Zone from 1980, correct?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, I said Forbidden. Yeah, that's it.
Now, I have not seen this, but Danny Elfman's in it as Satan.
Yeah, I never saw it. But you know what? He's currently filming part 2.
Really? Huh.
And it's got
Spinell's
Bodie
in it? Wow.
It's got Bodie in it, and it's got Jen Elfman, I guess, is in it. And I private messaged him saying I showed interest in, but he's not showing interest in me. So whatever,
Now, after that, I mean, again, and this is, I guess this is the genre fan in me. This is the fanboy in me. You do Shrunken Heads, and then you go on and you do Class of Nukem High Part 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Subhumanoid, and you play an infirmary student in that. Since you had to, you said that you had to leave the second one because of another role, I take it they were very happy to have you back, for part 3. And, a lot of people wonder, I had asked what it was like working with Troma, what was it like working for Full Moon Entertainment. Kind of think about that for a moment. You worked with two of the biggest companies when you think about independent projects, that are self-released. Those are the two companies that most people aspire and wish that they could work for. Were there a lot of differences between what it was like working for a Full Moon set as opposed to a Troma set?
Yes, Full Moon I got paid. I was paid as a SAG featured player. The Troma, I never made a cent. Eric Luzil, I was in 3 of his movies. He never paid me a cent. But I didn't care. I wanted the credits, So I was on the phone with him. He goes, because he shot part 2 and 3 back to back. So he goes, we have a scene tomorrow, and why don't you come in and we'll just ad-lib something. So I just went in there and he says, do whatever you want, So the whole scene I ad-libbed that stupid scene with that fat guy in the wig who plays a nurse asked me what was troubling me. And I said, I was sweaty and shaky and this and that, like I was in a bad B movie. I look at the camera and I wink at the camera. That's my big scene.
Now, something that when I had put up the announcement that you were going to be on the show, it was going off of your IMDb, and I had mentioned, actor, stuntman, and performer singing. You were pretty quick to message me, and you were like, I only did stunts in one film, but what a film to be a stuntman on. You were a stunt player for Darkman.
Right. Okay, here's a good story. When I was on Phantasm 2, Don told me, hey, he's a friend with Sam Raimi. Hey, Sam Raimi and producer Robert Tappert are going to come visit us on the set tomorrow. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to meet Sam Raimi and Don Coscarelli in the same room, And so Sam Raimi didn't show up, but Robert Tappert did. And I was talking to him, said I was a SAG player, and can you use me in any future roles? He goes, well, we're actually shooting a scene at San Pedro this weekend. You want to be a bad guy? I'll hire you as a stunt player. I'm hells yeah, So I got to be coming out of one of those Lincoln cars in the beginning of the scene. Again, that's on my YouTube channel. And I had a stunt contract player deal, so that's why I got the stunt thing. I'm just standing there looking like a badass. That's all. But I actually did a stunt thing when I worked on Perfect Weapon as the football bully. Have you seen that?
Perfect Weapon was that the one with Mel Novak?
Jeff Speakman.
No, I don't think I have seen that one then.
All right, well, that's the first time I ever saw myself speaking on screen. It was a Paramount release, I believe, and I'm a football bully when Jeff Speakman's like, look, he's driving by his old college or high school, whatever, and he remembers the time where him and his brother are walking on the football field, and I'm like, get off the field, you fairies or whatever, and then the younger Jeff Speakman kicks my ass, but they brought in a stunt player to take all the hits because this younger guy who portrays Jeff Speakman was an expert karate guy. So I'm in football gear. I'm like, you know what? I could take this. I was young then, so I took all the hits, and then I fall to the ground, and they gave me a $500 bump. So that was actually my only stunt I really did.
Did you ever consider doing more stunt work?
Not now, man. I'm 48, and I'm falling apart, man. There's no way I'm going to do stunts. I groan when I get out of bed, and my wife knows. I got sciatica in my leg. Anyway, there ain't no more stunts in my life except getting up to go to work.
Oh, no, trust me, I'm right there with you. Like I said, after I got injured 3 times in the first 24 hours on a film shoot, I was like, nope, no more stunts for me. So I perfectly understand where you're coming from when it comes to stuff like that.
Which movie was that you got hurt on?
Oh, it was called The Forever Dead, directed by Christine Parker. I got hurt. We did a scene where I'm telling the story of the hook around a campfire to some campers. and a zombie's supposed to come up behind me and pull me backwards and attack me. Well, originally I was supposed to control my fall. Like I was going to kick back because I knew what the ground layout was. Well, the young lady that was playing the zombie had imbibed a fair amount of Jack Daniels, and when she grabbed me, she didn't stop, and she jerked me back, and there was an exposed tree root behind me, and I slammed my head off of that.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, a little fuzzy brain, but went on through the night, and then the next morning, we're shooting a scene where we're all zombies and going up on the house, and I'm getting ready to climb up on the porch, and the guy in front of me stumbles, and he hits one of the support beams on the porch, and it snaps in half, smacks me in the back of my head, ricochets, and breaks my middle finger when it lands on it. So I said after that, no more stunts.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't trade the experience for anything, but, you know, I know how those things happen.
What's up next for you?
You did you had a short stint on a TV series called Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
Right.
And it appears that it was a Canadian series from what I've been able to read up on it. Kind of tell us about your involvement in this. And from what I've been able to find on it, it kind of looked like it was a take or a spin off of Power Rangers. Would you say that that's accurate?
I would say that's accurate. So I've actually, if I remember correctly, I didn't even have to audition for that. My manager called me and said, "Are you available? They want a bully." I guess I was known for being a bully from Ohio, whatever. So yeah, I called in sick for work because my dad was sick of me, trying to change my schedule around. So the easiest way out was, I'm sick today. So I went down to the whatever studio it was, I don't remember, and I knocked that scene out, and that was it. And that, again, is on my YouTube channel if you want to see it.
I will definitely be trekking over. Like I said, I tried to do as much research on some of your films as I could, that I hadn't seen. And, again, some of the projects just seemed a little bit harder to find than others. Now, after that, you did an episode of Married with Children, and, again, that's another one of those series that people just seem to love. And then there was a 4-year lull, and you did an episode of Zoe, Duncan, Jack, and Jane. And then there's an empty period.
Right.
First of all, with Married with Children, you're talking about 1995. The show's in the highly popular. What was your experience like being on that set? Did you get to meet the majority of the cast and crew? And, do you ever run into that episode when you're flipping through channels?
Okay, so here's the part where I was waiting for you to tell you my most disappointing acting experience ever.
Oh,
so
no.
I got a call, and I blew and they wanted a fat guy. It's Kelly's high school reunion, and I'm the ex-football quarterback or whatever. And the scene is Kelly's at the table with all the hot chicks, and I come up and I say, "Hey, ladies, remember me? Chad, captain of the football team, eh?" And then Kelly goes, "Oh, hey, hi, Chad. Yeah, I think they're having a pie eating contest over there." I'm all, "Where?" And I run off to go eat the pies. So that was my scene. And then I had another scene where I'm in line for the punch, and Bud cuts in front of me, and I tap him on the shoulder. I go, "Hey, hey, hey, no cutsies." So that was my two scenes. So, and my wife and I, at the time, we cherished Married with Children. It was one of our favorite shows. So when I got that, I was like on top of the world. I'm acting in our favorite show. Yay! I told everybody, everybody. And my wife was in the audience live. It was the most terrific time ever. And then when we watched it, all of a sudden I was cut out of every scene.
Oh.
My heart dropped to the floor. But I still get credit, and I still get residuals. And I had my manager ask, "What the F happened?" She said, call me back like they did it for timing purposes, for the commercials and this and that. So like the little joke scenes sometimes have to be cut out.
Right.
I've always been pissed off about that.
I mean, I can't say I blame you, especially if it was one of your favorite shows. I mean, I can
Right.
only imagine. Now, of course, we don't have to go into great detail on this, but like I said, 1999 you did Zoe, Duncan, Jack, and Jane, and then there's a 16-year period where you were out of the business, according to IMDb. I understand what you had said earlier. Pay bills, you needed to do the things that you needed to do, but during that time that you were gone, did you miss it? Was it, did you lament leaving at that time and being away for so long?
Yeah, I truly did miss it, but my focus was on paying bills, and I never thought I'd get back into the business until I got, until I joined Facebook, and people urged me to go back in, and so I did, and then, and I was taking delivery. I work at my dad's deli, and I run deliveries. And occasionally I'd run a delivery to a casting place, and I'd see actors in the room with their sides, and I'm all, damn it, this is what I used to do, and now I'm delivering sandwiches to these places. So so I got my ass in gear, and now I've been auditioning for the last year. I ended up my first job when I got back in was a Jim Beam commercial with Mila Kunis. It was like an extra work, but I made some money off that. And then after that, I got, Oh, by the way, before I heard you guys talking about Lynn Lowry, and I did this guy called me up, Ron Atkins, who's done a bunch of horror films and stuff. He's currently shooting the Christ Rising. So he asked me if I
was getting ready to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's weird how he shoots it. He shoots on this high-definition digital camera, no casting crew, just on a tripod by himself. And then, so I played this, like two parts, a pastor and a store clerk. So the lead guy comes into the store. I'm the store clerk, and I look like, like a mess. And he asks me where the church is, and I have a few lines, and I act crazy, like aliens are coming. And then he goes to the church, and then I'm the same guy, but I'm well dressed like a pastor, and I have a scene with him where I warn him about where he's going, and he's on his way to go see Lynn Lowry and Camille Keaton, who end up being demons or something. So I give him a warning about them. It's going to be a weird movie. He's still shooting it. It's like his love project, and it's not going to be out for a while because it's something, it's like a 2-year thing for him.
You mentioned two of the cast members. You talk about, two women who are definitely influential and their names, in the genre. You mentioned Camille Keaton and, of course, Lynn Lowry. Did you have, I know you said it's still being filmed, but did you have any parts with them? And what was it, like working with those two legendary women?
I did not get to meet them. Their scenes were later in the day, and I had to go to work. So, whatever. So after Christ Rising, I landed the Thundermans. The Thundermans is a Nickelodeon show, and I play the superhero. Everybody's like superheroes in the show, and I play the superhero Handyman. And you can see my picture of Handyman, and it's actually on my YouTube channel. You could see me, and I had 2 lines, and they cut it down to 1 line. So it was almost a Married with Children incident on that one. And then after that, I did this made-for-Netflix movie. This is my last thing I just did, called Project MC Squared, which is like a Spy Kids kind of movie. And I played George, the security guard. And I have a few lines, and I worked a few days. And I think that's, when it's all cut together, it's going to be a great little clip for myself.
Now, you have a short listed on here for this year called Spoils of the Dead. Is there anything you can tell us about that particular film?
Yeah, that's I met them a couple years ago on Facebook, and I did a videotape audition where I have it's like a surreal thing where the guy like gets his head knocked off, he's like dying, and he goes through this like limbo. He's going through limbo, and he encounters me as one of the people like that was murdered or something, and I'm holding a knife. And I have a couple lines, and after he passes me, he goes to other strange things. but it's been put off because the director, Jennifer Romero, she had some treatments for some breast cancer, and she's just getting off of that. And when she's done with that, they're going to go back into production and be filming that shortly. And it's something I dedicated myself to them, and I love them, and I'm going to do it because it'll be another nice little clip for myself. And I don't care about the money. I just want some featured clips for myself to put together a new reel of the way I look now.
Now, one of the other credits on your IMDb is you're listed for soundtrack, and that was a Saved by the Bell episode. I think it was episode 1, actually, School Song, and you were a performer for Bayside My Home. Was music something you were interested in, and how did that part of it come up when you were working on the series?
Again, this goes along with the stuntman thing that IBM just listed, and what it was is actually the last episode of Saved by the Bell called School Song, and I was in the chorus of the school song, "Oh Bayside, we love you," or whatever the hell it was, and I hated singing, so I mouthed the words during the rehearsal, and the director comes up to me and goes, "I can tell you're not singing." I goes, "Well, I don't like to sing." He goes, "You're an actor, so effing act." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll sing." So I had to sing.
You got to let directors to do that.
Yeah, so he caught on to me not singing, and I had to sing, and I didn't want to sing. So that's how I got that credit.
Now, you have another one on here where you're listed as yourself. Tell us about the networking club.
Okay, again, this is a guy I met through, he's a Canadian guy named Sean Doucette, and he wanted me, I don't know, how actors can get together and they're like a reality kind of show.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted me to come to Canada. So I said, yeah, sure. But then you know what? I just don't have. I got a sick cat, and I have to stay here. I can't go to Canada unless it's really big bucks. So
sure.
He likes me so much. He's going to come down here with his crew, and we're going to do the scenes here.
Nice.
So it's like a reality pilot about how actors meet, and then he wants to just make fun and go around town with a live camera and edit together the fun and adventures. I don't know. It's a weird project, but I told him if he comes down here, he's got me for a couple of days and I'll do it.
Nice. Now you have a project that's slated for 2018, and it's listed as a romance. Again, it's a Canadian film. And that's Astronomy Walkers. Is there anything, I know it's a little bit out, and you probably can't spill too much detail, but is there anything you can tell us about this particular project?
This director, Reno, directed Sean Doucette in this movie called Attack of the Killer G-String or something like that, which is the title's been changed. The title's been changed because the distributors thought it might sound like a porno or whatever. So it's something called Attack of the Cobra or whatever. I don't know. So he asked me if he paid for me the flight, room and boarding, and decent wages to fly out to Easter Island and do my scenes on Easter Island. So, if the money's good and enough to pay for everything, I'll go and do it. But, it's got to be well paid for me to leave here. And I understand Easter Island's like a week's journey to get there. I don't know. Someone told me it's a long way. And not many people have filmed on Easter Island.
No, I can't say that I know of any films off the top of my head that were filmed there. So at least you get to see someplace unique. I'd be happy to go do that.
Yeah, and he promises that it's a part that's totally different. This is a real drama kind of acting part. It's totally different than what I've actually ever done. I'd actually be up for maybe an Academy Award for this one.
Hey, I think you should run with it.
Yeah, I will if the money's good. I can't
Now,
really leave town unless it's good.
looking back at your career and everything that you've done, television, film, shorts, TV series, you've covered a wide range of genres, action, war, horror, comedy, drama. When you started it all out, all the way in the beginning, did you ever think that you would be where you are now? And out of all of the genres that you've worked in, to you, what has been your most satisfying project?
There's two things we have not discussed. The first one is Steve Wang's Kung Fu Rascals, which we shot over a year on 8mm on the 8mm Super 8 with no sound. Are you familiar with this title?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't even see that listed on your IMDb page, and I'm sitting here going through it right now.
It's there, and I just recently spent $35 to add the poster to it because I'm so proud of it.
Really?
It's there, and the full-length feature is on my YouTube channel, and I beg you to watch that.
Okay.
You'll love it. Steve Wang, he's a special effects sculptor artist, and his friends, and for little money, they made this great fantasy comedy martial arts movie, and I'm one of the leads in it. And there's so many special effects and comedy involved. Yeah, some of it was shot and it's kind of dark and hard to see, but it's like a little underground gem that people know about. Now, the other one I did was, are you familiar with the name Donald Jackson?
No.
Donald Jackson did Hell Comes to Frogtown and a bunch of crap.
I'm familiar with that film. I didn't know, but I did not realize that he was involved in that. Yeah, Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah. So I read, again, thanks to Dramalog, I read for the lead psycho, and I got it that day that I read. And I go around, it was shot in 35mm, and I go around with my retarded brother, and we go around terrorizing women. I don't know. I'm in the whole thing, and it's my first lead as a psycho in a horror film. So, and that, again, the full thing is on my YouTube channel also. It's called Kill, Kill, Overkill, and I'd like you to watch that too.
Definitely.
So I'm proud of those two things because they're full-length features, and I'm starring in both of them.
I like it. I will definitely go and check that out.
Cool.
Now, what experience, with all the experience and everything that you've worked on, if someone were to come to you and say, hey, I want to get into the business, what should I expect? What should I do? What advice would you give to someone who's breaking into the industry these days?
Well, you got to get your feet wet, go out, do extra work, get a feel for it. Try to find, maybe I can help you, introduce you to my manager or my agent and get headshots and, IMD Pro. Now, I just joined IMD Pro, and it gives you breakdowns, and you could submit yourself. So I would just tell them to do that. So start submitting yourself through that,
Right. Now, you've worked on all these projects. You got to work on your favorite TV show. Is there a dream film project out there for you? What would it be?
I have a dream TV show, and I actually, at the same day that I met Elizabeth Berkley at the Hollywood Bowl, my wife goes, "Oh, look, is that the girl from The Big Bang Theory? She's over there in the box seat." Uh-huh. So I ran over to her, introduced myself, and I said, I was in Saved by the Bell. I'm an actor too. And then she goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember you." I said, my ultimate dream is to be on your show. She goes, "Oh, well, yeah, well, good luck with that, So right now I want to show her. I want to get in that show and say, "Hey, my good luck is here. I'm working with you." Oh, yeah, I just love that show.
It is a funny show. As much as I watch horror, it is a series that is definitely funny. It's grown on me over the years.
But where I
Now,
stand now, I would just like to be something like the Avengers, some big budget ass movie where you see me, something like that, anything like that,
now, we mentioned all the projects that were listed, and you mentioned some other things. What else do you want people to know about you? If they want to follow you on social media, if any producers out there that are listening, directors, want to contact you, what's the best way to go about contacting you for people to find out more about you and your work?
Well, there's always Facebook with Messenger, Troy Fromin, and there's always my agency called Almond Agency. You can reach me through there. And I'd love to talk to anybody who's interested in me. I just love acting. I'm looking forward to my next acting part. So, give me a part, everybody.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to your fans? Perseverance in acting. Check this film out. What is the one thing you want everyone to know about you?
I'm a jokester. I'm a funny guy. I like to just joke around, and a lot of people don't appreciate my jokes, and I find myself unfriended by them. But then again, who needs them if they don't get my humor? So I just I work at the deli, and I look forward to each day. You never know what's going to happen. Each day, my manager calls me, hey, you're going to try out for this. The next day, hey, you're part of that. So every day is an adventure when you're in my shoes and with a manager and an agent.
Now, since you've brought up your wife several times, I have to ask, what does she think about your career and everything, that you've worked on and that you're going to work on?
Oh, she's fully supportive of me. In fact, on my YouTube channel, again, folks, I would like more subscribers. I have 84 subscribers. I don't know how people get thousands of subscribers when all they do is post things that other people have done. I make my own
that
funny,
out either.
I want everybody to know I make my own funny videos. I have 16 of my own funny videos on my YouTube channel. Some I think are freaking hilarious. Check out the Lemonade Stand and check out Red Box Blunder. If you watch those two, I bet you'll be on the floor. And I'm planning some more soon. So I'd like people to concentrate on the funny videos that I made and watch Kung Fu Rascals and Kill Kill Overkill. Check out all my old stuff, There's so much variety on there,
Right.
And I'm in the middle of that.
Go ahead.
I'm in the middle of that Speak of the Devil with you tomorrow.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on. You're always welcome here on the Calling Hours Horror Podcast. If you have news that you want put out about your film projects, please let me know, and I will get them up on Horror Society. Again, I just want to thank you for being on so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, especially after you put me on the back burner for all those hot chick horror, the hot chick the horror films. Well, I don't blame you. I'd do the same thing.
Man, it was nothing against you. A lot of times, and I'm sure you know this, sometimes, interviews are handed to you and you have to take them on the spot. So I'm glad I managed to get you in. And, like I said, I definitely want to have you on again, get it after I have an opportunity to watch more of your work, because I'll know I'll have questions. And I'm always open to interviewing you for a written review on Horror Society or Living Dead Magazine as well.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Anytime, brother. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Have a good show.
You too. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, actor Troy Fromin. This is a guy that I feel, while I unfortunately have not been able to see the vast majority of his work, what I have seen him in, I have enjoyed. He seems like a really nice gentleman. If any of you directors or producers out there listening are looking for a solid talent who obviously has a passion for what he does,